Meet the OPPO Find X9, the brand's latest flagship that has arrived in the Philippines. Backing it is the new MediaTek Dimensity 9500 chipset, ColorOS 16 update, and Hasselblad-tuned cameras. This marks the second time that a device from OPPO's Find X line has launched here in the country, so we'll try to do it some justice. Hey guys, it's Dwayne, and today we're taking this guy in for a full review. I'm sure we're all curious to see how the Find X9 fares, so let's dive right in. Kicking things off with design, the Find X9 kept its ergonomically compact size from last year's model. It feels slim, measuring roughly at 8mm and weighs around 200 grams. It has a flat-edge design that feels sleek and makes it easy to carry or slide into pockets. In terms of materials, it has an aluminum frame and a matte glass back panel. That said, it feels sturdy and premium, sporting an impressive build just like its predecessor. However, I must say I'm not a fan of the camera module redesign. For reference, last year's model had a watch face-like camera module with Hasselblad branding centered and the LED flash placed outside. Now, we have a slightly protruding square-shaped module reminiscent of OPPO's Reno smartphone line. Notably, the flash is branded with the Hasselblad logo, albeit more low-key this time around. I mean, you can barely notice it on average. It feels like OPPO is going for more of a subtle flex approach for this flagship model, which is alright. At the front, we have the display panel, which is covered with unspecified glass protection. The screen comes with really thin bezels, which I'm sure most users will appreciate. For buttons and ports, we have the volume rocker and power button on the right side. On the left, we have the snap key, which is essentially a customizable action button. Some of the functions you can set it to include Mindspace, D&D, a camera shortcut, you get the idea. At the bottom, you'll find a USB Type-C port, what we assume is 2 microphones, and 1 of 2 speakers. There's also an IR blaster on top, with the earpiece doubling as the second loudspeaker. Lastly, this phone boasts a triple ingress protection rating, IP66, 68, and IP69. This means users have extra peace of mind should they drop their phone underwater or get splashed by water jets. All things considered, the Find X9 retains its nice impressions from its predecessor. It feels premium, sturdy, and now a bit more muted. Not sure if they were going for this, but it makes OPPO's offerings feel more uniform than ever. Going back to the screen, the Find X9 has a 6.59-inch Pro XDR OLED display. It supports up to 1.5K resolution and a refresh rate of 120Hz. The panel also features Dolby Vision, HDR10+, and a lowered 3600 nits of peak brightness. Sadly, it's not using an LTPO panel, so that's a bit of a bummer. Users can find that it offers rich colors and true deep blacks. Scrolling feels fluid as well, which ties in with how the new ColorOS 16 makes the general experience smoother than usual. Mostly, I use the phone to binge watch Jujutsu Kaisen before the next season drops. I also watched this movie called Parachute, which made it feel all the more cinematic. I would definitely recommend binging videos on this device. 10 out of 10. Audio-wise, the phone has good clarity, bass, and vocal separation. However, it does lack in loudness, which is the same issue it had last year. That said, it has nods and lows and mids, but the highs for the soundstage leave a little more desired. Generally though, I'm sure users won't really be able to tell as they sound good either way. On to Biometrics, where the phone offers an in-display ultrasonic fingerprint sensor and facial recognition. Enrollment is hassle-free and won't last more than 2 minutes. Both features also work fairly quickly without any gripes on our end. For optics, the OPPO Find X9 offers a well-rounded experience with its Hasselblad-tuned imaging system. This includes 3 50-megapixel rear cameras and a 32-megapixel selfie shooter. The main camera and telephoto feature OIS. Collectively, the rear cameras are capable of recording videos up to 4K at 120fps, while the front camera is capped at 4K at 60fps. Given its predecessor's performance under this department, expectations were high. After a good afternoon with the phone, it certainly did not disappoint. From experience, subject separation is great, the colors pop out, and images come out with a natural look with or without HDR. It's not too shabby under low lighting conditions either, as it's able to produce photos equal to what your eyes would see. Granted, we figured it leverages post-processing to its advantage. However, the results are more than satisfactory. Meanwhile, its ultra-wide lens has the same issue as it did last year. If a user would care to zoom into a taken photo, it's not as sharp as you'd expect. Of course, if you aren't too nitpicky, then you wouldn't be able to tell anyway. Video recording, on the other hand, felt pretty smooth under good lighting. The autofocus latches onto the first subject pretty fast. If you're into taking night shots, expect quality to dip and grain to come in. Either way, it's still fairly decent.
This is a sample rear video of the OPPO Find X9 shooting at 4K at 30 frames per second. So this is what it looks like. Oops. Isa pa. Okay. And then here are your details. Okay. And then one up.
Okay.
Alright, so what do you guys think? Let us know in the comment section below.
Hi, this is Dwayne and this is a sample video of the OPPO Find X9 in 4K and 30 FPS. We do a spin. It's pretty stable. It's alright. Yup.
To sum up this segment, users can expect generally great photos across the main and telephoto shooters. While the ultra-wide lens is great, it could definitely use some work if you're the type to zoom in for details. Under the hood, the Find X9 is powered by a Dimensity 9500 with our review unit having 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. This 3nm chipset has clock speeds of up to 4.21 GHz, which is a noteworthy leap from its predecessor. There's also other components at play such as its ARM G1 Ultra GPU, the OPPO Trinity engine, and the MediaTek NPU 990 for AI features. We had heating issues with its predecessor, but now it's been remedied. OPPO says the GPU not only has better performance, but also a customized cooling system. After an hour into Genshin Impact, I felt some warmth, but not an alarming amount of heat from the device. We were able to run it with the highest graphics settings and it was smooth all throughout our gameplay. That was our tell that the chipset is more than capable of running intensive tasks smoothly. Meanwhile, their Trinity engine helps with optimizing power usage for different tasks. I'd love to talk about power consumption, but we'll get into that a bit later. For those of you interested in the numbers, please check out our benchmark scores right here. For software, the Find X9 comes with Android 16 out of the box with the highly anticipated ColorOS 16 skin on top. Generally, the software is responsive, smooth, and fluid. They even have their own take of the dynamic island, which looks much better in my humble opinion. There's also the addition of Mindspace, which we felt like was derived from Nothing's Essential Space. Basically, this productivity feature leverages AI to take note of information on your phone via screenshots or voice notes, which primarily makes summaries or analyses in a user-friendly manner. This should be good for when users need to clean up and put everything away neatly in dedicated folders. I find it handy because I started to get irked by how many random memes I have on my phone. In case some viewers are curious, this device comes with barely any bloatware. Pre-install first and third-party apps are there, but they're usually very useful. This includes Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, Spotify, and ZenSpace. Now then, just to let viewers know, we don't have the info about its update policy yet at the time of recording. However, we will provide an update when details are available along with a separate in-depth video about ColorOS 16. So, stay tuned for that. Battery-wise, the OPPO Find X9 packs a massive 7025 mAh unit, which is nuts considering how thin the phone is. It also supports up to 80 watts of wired charging, 50 watts of wireless charging, and 10 watts of reverse wireless charging. So the question now is, how does this translate into typical usage patterns? On a daily basis, I've been using it for browsing, streaming, some light gaming, and taking snaps. And from experience, my usage barely made a dent in power consumption. Notably, this is the same case for our benchmark test. In PC Mark's Work 3.0 battery life test, the Find X9 had 22 hours and 8 minutes of uptime, which is definitely a solid result. We'd say this is an impressive score that's credited to the OPPO Trinity engine. It seems as if it really did put in some work to manage power consumption. Moving on, connectivity options include the essentials: 5G, dual nano SIM slots with eSIM support, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, GPS, and an IR blaster for easy universal remote control with your home appliances. Call and mobile data quality on both mobile or Wi-Fi did pretty well with no issues on our end. All things considered, we believe that the OPPO Find X9 is sick. It's pretty favorable across the board, with the only con so far being its camera modular design and lacking a loud soundstage. Now then, both of these things can be subjective and will boil down to user preference. What doesn't lie is numbers, and this phone has a fresh software skin and chipset combined with a long battery life. You could argue that improvements to its display and cameras were incremental, but they didn't do that bad last year. That said, I'd understand if OPPO didn't want to change these as much. How does the saying go? If it ain't broke, then don't fix it. Well, we've made it to the end of the video, and unfortunately, we don't have the OPPO Find X9's official pricing as of now. For reference though, the OPPO Find X8 started at 54,999 pesos, so we should expect it to be within this range. We'll update in the description box or comment section once we get the official price, so sit tight. But hey, what do you guys think? Feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. If you found this video interesting, drop a like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more channel updates. Also, don't forget to follow us on our socials at Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, or visit yugatech.com to keep up with the latest tech news and reviews. This has been Dwayne, and I'll see you guys in the next one.